Hey guys, here we go into a film study about the referee for Joshua Anthony or the Anthony Joshua Joseph Parker fight. There's a lot of controversy about it, and people are kind of upset. Oh, he should have let him work on the inside. He should have done this. He was awful. He was this. He was that. And when I watched the fight, I heard the same broadcaster that you guys did saying, I don't know, or like actually, I was reading. Um, I was on a plane actually while the fight was going on, and I was reading like live round by round things, and in all of the round by round stuff, they were talking about how the referee was doing such an awful job and how like why was he breaking them, and then on the comment sections of all the videos, they're talking about how they're taking away Joseph Parker's only chance to win the fight, and like all this like crazy stuff, and um, I actually think the referee did a fantastic job. I agree with Eddie Hearn. The referee did a fantastic job, and I'm going to show you guys why. And I want to talk about why after, because it's really important to understanding boxing, Um, and then I'll talk about a little bit why after. But we're going to go ahead and get into some of the video um, real quick. I actually have two videos for this one. Let's see which one I'm showing first. Let me put it in slow mo, and I'll just kind of talk over it, right? So first, right here, I want you to notice this, right? Look at how AJ, after he shoots that jab, Parker slips under the jab, right? And then Joshua's jab hand winds up crossing his neck, right? And he's holding him at a distance so he can try to land that right hand, right? Beautiful technique from Joshua, right? You shoot the jab, they slip out of the way or they do whatever, right? You control their head, right? Not only do you stop them, right? You stop them from transitioning their weight. So if they slip and they want to like shoot under a shot, right? So they shoot under the shot and then come over the top with the right hand, right? They want to do that. Or maybe they want to slip down and then pivot off the line, right? But what happens when you control their head like that? You stop them from being able to transition their weight, right? So Parker, from this position, he can't actually shoot a right hand from here because he's not going to be able to turn his hips, right? All that weight is going to get blocked um, from Joshua. He's not going to be able to turn into the shot, right? Joshua is able to kind of maybe set up another shot by controlling his opponent's head and then landing that shot on top of it. But look what happens when he doesn't do that, right? When Joshua is not controlling his head, right? He Parker's able to get under the jab, right, and kind of break into Joshua's space, right? But look what he does with his left hand, right? And this is really important, right? So he gets in there, and now he's not like notice in the beginning of the fight, right? I talked about it a lot. He would flash the lead hand, shoot the right hand over, and try to land a shot. But now at this point, he's closing that distance, and Joshua's not running away from him. But Parker is not punching, right? He's just grabbing him, right? And this is the point, right? Once the opponent or once somebody is grabbing or holding, and then Joshua is grabbing and holding too, you have to break them, right? Um, at this point, both fighters, neither one of them is legally allowed to punch the other, right? It's against the rules, right? Because if you have one arm around the other guy and you're punching with the other hand, that's called holding and hitting, right? That makes sense, right? Does everybody follow me? Holding and hitting, right? Because see, if they're holding right here, because they're holding, and then they punch the guy, then they're hitting, but then they're holding and hitting at the same time, and then when those cross, boom, illegal, right? And we'll talk more about that later. It's very important that you guys understand that very, very simple concept, right? But probing, right? Parker shoots the jab in, comes under, right? And then grabs him, right? Look at, you can see his glove around Joshua's waist, right? Now, this is a fundamental problem with boxing, right? And that people don't understand that once you start holding your opponent, that you're not allowed to punch them anymore. And we'll talk about a little bit more about that, but they have to break them here, right? There's no really opportunity for offense, right? And the interesting thing here is that the video that I have is going to have every single clinch past the sixth round. Every single one. So we'll be able to talk about that too. But this video right here is some specific clinches that I wanted to talk about. But looking at this one, he shoots the jab, right? Shoots the right hand, right? And then immediately, look at his left arm wrap around Joshua, right? Now Joshua has his arms tightly wrapped, right? Look at how Joshua's left arm is on across Parker's body, and he's trying to create space right here. But watch Parker pull him in, right? Parker's going to pull him in, and you can see him pull him and Joshua's body kind of fling forward because Parker is the one that's initiating the clinch, right? Now, there's a great irony with that, right? And now here he is right here. Joshua's trying to escape the clinch, right? Escape that lead left hand that's pulling him close, right? And Parker just keeps running at him and sticking his lead hand out there. Now, the interesting thing here is Parker's the one initiating the clinching, right? He's the one that's holding, but everyone's talking about how Parker's the one that got cheated out of being able to fight on the inside. But it was actually his fault. It's his own fault that he's not able to fight on the inside because he doesn't know how to fight on the inside. You know, go back and watch any round from Jarrett Hurd versus Erislandy Lara. That is inside fighting. Notice how neither one of them were grabbing and holding, right? Very few, right? But then as soon as that started, right, the referee break them, right? But there was so much good inside fighting. Jarrett Hurd had a great inside stance, right? He was able to move here, boom, roll, right? Bop, bop, do all his thing, his fancy stuff, look great. But when Parker gets on the inside, look at how he gets in there, and then he wraps his arm around his opponent, right? We'll watch this one again, right? So he jabs, tries to get under Joshua's jab by keeping his head low. Not only is that illegal, right? And I know I didn't talk about any of this stuff during the breakdown of the fight because nobody ever wants to hear negative things about their fighter. But he shoots the jab, right? And now look at how far below the waist he's bending, right? He's not only is his head down, which is illegal, right? You're supposed to keep your head up at all times, right? So when if you watch Tyson, right, when he dips down, right? He never bends down like this, right? But he's always like this, boom, boom, right? His back is straight, right? Even when he gets really low, boom, boom, and then he can, boom, do his little Tyson thing. But Parker is not able to do that at all because he's bending down at the waist, right? Not bending on his legs. But Joshua tries to shoot him with that right hand, right? But look at Parker's left arm now. Now it's wrapped around Joshua, right? So the referee says, break, right? But the referee's already told them to break already. And Parker's shooting his shots, right? And then Joshua's like, I'll throw some shots too, whatever, But the idea here is that was not a bad break by the referee just because Parker grabbed him, then made him think that they were going to initiate a clinch, right? And then let's go to throw punches, right? As soon as he grabs him, you have to break, right? Joshua's holding. They're kind of tied up. Like it's a little awkward, right? There's a lot of bad things that could happen, right? Parker coming up with his head like that, right? Could headbutt Joshua. What if Joshua's mouth is open and he bites off his own tongue? You just don't know. But anyway, we got a lot of film to go over, so I'm going to kind of try to make it go a little quicker. But look at this right here again, right? Holding and hitting, right? We'll kind of break this one down a little more, right? Because it kind of winds up being up a little bit of Joshua's fault, but Parker's fault as well. But he shoots that right hand, right? And now look at how both of his hands right here are by himself, right? This is not a good stance to have on the inside, right? Because his weight transfer, right? Like he's not protecting the right side of his body at all, right? So you want your right arm down, right? But at least his hands are free, right? So he can punch right here. But Joshua goes to grab around him, right? Then Parker says, okay, now we're grabbing, right? So he's holding on to him, but Parker's throwing punches, right? And this is holding and hitting. You're not allowed to do this. It's illegal, right? So the referee has to break him, right? Also because of the fact that both of them are tied up, right? Both of them are tied up. If Joshua, and we'll see clips of this later, if Joshua is the one holding and both his hands are here, right? But he's being held, right, by one arm, right? But he can punch with the other, but he's not holding at all, then it's legal for Joshua or for Parker to throw punches. But if both of them are holding, then neither one of them are able to punch. But if you are holding, you are also not allowed to punch. But this clip right here, this is really interesting, right? So they come on the inside, right? Boom. He catches him with that shot. But the referee's on the other side, right? He can't see that Parker's holding him, right? And Joshua's shooting that right uppercut right there, landing a shot, but they're not holding on the other side, so the referee's not calling it, right? They're punching. As soon as he gets around to this side, he sees, oh, they're locked up, breaks them, right? Great job. And we're going to get to the rest of the breaks, not just the ones that I want to specifically talk about, but a lot of people are also talking about how Parker had the advantage on the inside, which I think is just absolute crap, you know? It's not that he had the advantage on the inside. It's that everyone knew that he had no chance to win on the outside. So they thought, oh, maybe if they fight on the inside, there's a chance that he can upset Joshua, right? So that it's not that they thought he actually had the advantage, but he had a better chance of winning than 0% on the outside, right? And that's why people are all up in arms. But look at this scene right here. Does it really look like Parker has the advantage on the inside right here? Right? Boom, look at that uppercut on the inside, right? He's trying to grapple and get a hold of but Joshua's fighting it, you know? And that was one of the best inside fighting scenes. There's another really good one here. Boom. Does it really look like Parker has the advantage on the inside right here? Joshua's the one able to create space and land actual headshots. Again, wrapping his arm around. Joshua's the one able to land shots. And again, we're going to go over the rest of the holding and hitting and the rest of the other stuff. But these are the ones that really stuck out in my mind when I did the film study of every single clinch that the referee broke them up in. That you can see that, that Joshua actually had the advantage on the inside. Now, this one's interesting, right? Remember what I said earlier, right? Look at this. Parker doesn't smother himself, and he doesn't actually hold on the inside. He keeps both of his hands to himself. Joshua's holding down Parker's head because he's trying to get a clinch. He's trying to break, right? But the referee's not saying anything, and Parker is able to kind of unload on him. That's because of the fact that the rules say you are not allowed to hold and hit. On the inside, if you're the one being held, you're allowed to punch, right? But if you're the one doing the holding, you're not, right? Does that make sense, you guys? Holding and hitting is illegal, but you can do them separately, just not together, right? That makes sense? Holding, hitting, together. That's a no-no. So we're going to go ahead and go to the next video, and you'll be able to see kind of all of the, while I just talk over it, all of the clinches, right? And watch how almost every single one is initiated by Parker. Again, Parker wraps his arm around Joshua. What do? Starts fighting on the inside. Referee has to break him because Parker's holding. Parker's not trying to fight Joshua here. That's why he wraps his arm around here, because he doesn't want to fight, because he doesn't want to box. That's why you do that. Again, wrapping his arm around Joshua. This is not Joshua's fault, you guys. This is not the referee's fault. This is an inability of Parker to beat Joshua on the outside, causing him to fight on the inside, or try to fight on the inside as best as he can, but he doesn't know how. He's never had to fight on the inside because he just knocks everybody out, you know? But one of the problems with this is that people don't understand this. And one boxing commentator says something crazy like, oh, this awful referee doing this, blah, blah, blah. Again, Parker the one initiating the holding, right? And he wants to throw cheap shots on the inside. You know, most of the time there's not even any power in those shots anyway. You're just slapping. Again, Parker wrapping his arm around. I'm not even going to point it out anymore. I'm just going to let the video play and just pay attention to it yourself. I'll kind of pay attention in case there's something else that I want to point out. But I don't think there is. I think it's just Parker grabbing and trying to get under Joshua's jab. But what I want to talk about is, this is Andre Ward's style of fighting. Does this look like a fight, you guys? This is a highlight, basically, of Kovalev Ward, right? This is a highlight of Kovalev Ward. Kovalev shoots a jab. Ward gets under it, wraps his arm around Ward's body, pulls him close, wiggles his head underneath Kovalev's armpit, makes sure that they're body to body like this, and then just starts punching him in the sides. And for some reason, he gets credit for landing scoring punches there, right? They're not scoring punches. It's literally cheating, right? Now, this one actually was because Josh Parker's coming in with his head, right? Shoots the jab. And look at how he comes in with his head right there. And then, boom, headbutts Joshua in the face, right? He doesn't transfer his weight. He doesn't roll right here. He just kind of, boom, slams it right into his head. He's not even throwing a punch, right? And Joshua's like yelling, oh, he headbutted me, right? There's a good reason to break the action right there. But anyway, that's not boxing, you guys. That's not boxing. Holding and hitting is not boxing. Fighting on the inside is definitely real, right? But when you're fighting on the inside, right, like watch some of the stuff that Lomachenko does, right? When he's fighting on the inside, right? He's like pop 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 pop, right? And you block all that shit, right? But that last right hand, right, or that last jab shot comes out, touches the side of your glove over here, right? It comes, shoots this way, boom, and then he pulls it down and then catch you with the left hook, right? That's inside fighting. That's different than holding and hitting, right? It's not this. It's if you think about it, right, and you break it down, it's essentially the same thing, right? Because you're grabbing your opponent's arm and stopping them from being able to defend themselves while you punch them in the face, right? But it's fundamentally different because you're not actually holding them, right? It's a block removal technique, right? You're able to accomplish the same goal, right? To stop your opponent from being able to defend themselves, but you're not actually holding them, right? Oh, block removal. Oh, you can still slip, you can still move. But if someone is holding on to you, it's very similar to when they're controlling your neck, right? Like Mayweather got a lot of trouble for this too, and I think it's actually ridiculous, right? If I'm boxing you, right? If I'm boxing you, boom, 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 right? Come on, motherfucker, what up? And then you run in like this on me, and you try to smother me, and you try to body up with me, and I keep my forearm right here, right? Why should I get in trouble for you running into my forearm? Am I not allowed to use my arm now, right? I am, right? You run in like this, boom, all your weight's here. I'm going to push off like this, take an angle off, and I'm going to punch you in the face. You don't just get away with that shit. And like Mayweather would kind of, take it to extremes, right? But it wasn't right away. There was a build up to it. It wasn't right away where he was just elbowing you in the face or like forearming you on the head, But when people couldn't box him on the outside, they tried to do the exact same thing that Andre Ward does to every fighter that he can't outbox. He tries to get inside, grab, hold, and hit, right? It's a shame that Kovalev, used the kind of oh god, why am I blanking on this? Putting him in a headlock, right? So every time Kovalev would shoot a jab, Ward would just slide under it, put his head here on his own, right? And Kovalev has no recourse, right? They should be breaking automatically, right? Once Ward's head is there, that should be break right away. But Kovalev will put him in a headlock after he's already dipped below the waist and whatever, so he could work his way inside because he doesn't know how to do it. And then he would look to hold and hit, right? And that's exactly what all the fighters fighting Mayweather would do. They would just do it in different ways. They would usually just get punched in the face on their way in. And then they would try to smother Mayweather and fight him on the inside. But he would be able to take that away. He'd be able to control them by getting his weight. He would be able to take angles, push up, roll under their other shot, boom, 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 But as you can see, let's see if that one was a little different too, if it was the same, right? Sticks his arm out, and Parker rolls under, puts his head under Joshua's armpit, right? This is Parker's fault, right? It's Parker's fault that he doesn't know how to fight on the inside. It's not the referee's fault for breaking them. It's Parker's fault because he was getting outclassed on the outside and he knew it. He was, after those timings that I talk about and the little game that they played with those timings of Joshua's lead foot and his rhythm, Parker didn't know where to go because he was losing all of those little mini games, right? And that meant that he no longer had any outlets for offense because they had all been taken away by Joshua. So Parker has to resort to doing something, right? Like, if I'm in Parker's corner, I'm not going to be like, hey, stop doing that, man. I'm going to be like, hey, man, do what you got to do. If I'm on Parker's corner, I'm Team Parker. Fuck AJ. Kick that fool in the nuts. But don't really do that. But like, if he hurts you, yeah, maybe you Miguel Cotto him, right? When Zab Judah rocked that fool, I picked Zab Judah to beat Cotto. Man, I loved Judah, but I knew he was gonna hurt him. But then Cotto said, "Oh, you know what? I'll just punch this fool in the dick 3 times, and I won't be hurting anymore." And one of the interesting thing about that stuff too is you get this kind of adrenaline dump, especially when you get hurt like that, like to the balls, or when you get hit. Like if someone catches you with a real good shot, the reason that a lot of times fighters, they don't recover in time is because they have this crazy adrenaline dump, right? There's all of this like, high speed, like do, right? Ooh, like you're just ready, you're on point, everything that you're thinking is going great. But as soon as you get rocked, all of your instincts just completely change, right? It's not something that you can really train. It's like, I guess if you just let people punch you in the head in the gym all the time, like maybe, right? But it's there's this crazy adrenaline dump where you're no longer in a mode where you're looking to fight and punch and hurt people, right? It's just very weird, right? And even getting, punched in the balls, is going to have the same effect, right? So it's kind of like he knocked Judah out before he knocked Judah out. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. This is the end of the little highlight video of the grappling and stuff. But as you can see, this is not boxing, and this is basically a highlight of 90% of Ward and Kovalev. And that's because, to be honest, if they ever have a rematch for whatever reason, which they shouldn't, don't do it, Kovalev. You're never going to win a real fight against him. And I don't want to get into my thoughts on it. And, why does somebody who wins all of the titles in a division, why would they retire? Why would they do that? Does anybody know? All of a sudden you win the test or you win the belts and now you're going to start being VADA tested after refusing to be VADA tested for the rematch in the first place. And now you're just going to drop all the belts that you just won? For real? You're really going to... Is that... Anyway. Anyway, this is not boxing. This stuff that Parker was doing, that's not boxing. He wasn't looking to fight Anthony Joshua. It's not Anthony Joshua's fault. It's not the referee's fault. The referee did a fantastic job. And if they ever have a rematch, Joshua or Kovalev and Ward, this should be the referee. He actually did his job, God, that fight was just so stacked against Kovalev. To be honest, it was disgusting. The whole build-up. I didn't talk a lot about it because I don't want to be talking about the gossip and all those, boxing's tribalism. To be honest, and I almost made it a video about this too, but boxing fans are the worst fans in all of sports, right? And Raider fans are notoriously the worst football fans ever. I used to work security at Qualcomm Stadium in San Diego, and whenever they would have they would have games at home, right? They would have this extra parking lot for a building that I worked for, and they would just have the Ace parking people come in and charge people an arm and a leg for parking, and then people would just scale this little hill to go down to the stadium, right? And whenever it was Raiders season or the Raiders were coming into town, literally there'd be 20 car break-ins. We'd have 5 security guards in this one little area, right? We'd have a couple watching that hill that people are walking down. It's like a 40-foot, 50, like a 60-foot hill. People are just walking almost straight down, trying to get to the game to save 20 minutes. We'd have 2 people there. We'd have 2 people in the parking garage that's only 2.5 stories. And we'd have 20, 30 break-ins. The Raider fans would be... they'd be selling merchandise there. The people that would come from the Bay Area or Oakland or wherever the Raiders are from right now. And they would come and they would beat people up in the parking lots. They would rob them. They would, they'd break into their cars and steal their purses and steal just everything, And this was that one game. This was every game. And you know what? Boxing fans are worse. The tribalism, the comments, obviously someone calling me a racist is not worse than someone beating you up and taking your wallet, right? But the fact is anytime you say something negative about or something that's perceived negative about someone's favorite fighter, look at all of the Canelo shit, right? Canelo's a goddamn cheater. He's fucking cheating. And all the Canelo fans are like, oh, Triple G should be the bigger man here. Why is he putting out a commercial like that? Triple G's just a sore loser. He wish he had that money. He won the first fight. What are you talking about? Someone just tried to cheat to beat him. They tried to... Everything that man has worked for his entire goddamn life, right? His whole life. Someone tried to steal it from him by using illegal drugs to gain an advantage. Just think about that, all you internet people, especially anybody who sees this and doesn't agree. Think about if you had this great historic troll account on YouTube where you just talked shit to everybody all the time and you always got that one up and you were just the best internet troll ever. and then someone hacked your profile and changed a bunch of comments or did something stupid or got your account deleted. Or just think about like whatever it is that you guys sit at home and think about and love and you work your whole life for. And then imagine someone being able to steal that from you. Just steal it from you. Something you worked your whole life for. And that's Canelo. That's who Canelo is. Stealing from people who work hard. And he's being defended. That's what Andre Ward is. Stealing. Like that guy doesn't use steroids. Come on. Look at the difference in his body type in between the first fight and the second fight. Ah, man, I'm derailed. I'm so... It's been a really rough week for me. As you can tell, look at this beard, man. I haven't had time to shave. I'm just super stressed. And anyway, Ward's a cheater. Joseph Parker doesn't know how to fight on the inside. The ref didn't do any good. Good job, Anthony Joshua, for making Joseph Parker have to fight in a way that's not legal in order to try and win. Jesus, I'm dying.